Hey guys, I'm Roger Gaming, and I'm your coach for the Las Vegas Corviknights, and we are here for my draft breakdown. We just got into a new league, and looking forward to doing well. I think we have a pretty good team here, so let's get into it. Alright, so I actually had, for the first time ever, the first round pick overall, which is amazing. They do it randomly generated, and I happen to get first, so that was incredible. So I got pretty much, it's snake format, which means when you pick, at first, we had like 12 people. Once it gets back to you, then you get to pick twice. So it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then it would go 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then one would pick again, and so forth. Alright, so my first pick overall was Victini. Victini is an amazing fire type, known for its basically V-Create, which is the highest base power move there is. It's 180 power, plus it gets stab boosted, and it just can destroy teams. It does have a different drawback in it lowers your speed and special attack and special defense, I believe. So we have to keep that in mind, but it hits incredibly hard. And it has base 100 around the board, which is really good. It can be used defensive, offensive, especially offensive. So it's a very good Pokemon, and I think a very good pickup for our first round. Our next Pokemon, I know I wanted to try Dracovish this time, since it was this. I started this league. This video is coming out a little bit late, but I started it directly after the DLC dropped. So Dracovish had just released its hidden ability, so I wanted to try that because I knew Dracovish was broken before, and having an understand rather, I think is absolutely broken. So I drafted Hippowdon and Dracovish. Dracovish is a nice fit for Victini as it helps with the Dragon and Water typing for my Fairy Dragon Steel Core and my Fire Water Core. And Hippowdon's a nice like switch for Victini as it helps take well, Dracovish is a nice switch for Victini, and Hippowdon helps take the electric moves that Dracovish would somewhat not want. He can take electric moves, but it would prefer not to. Alright, our next mon is Savali. I thought it would be a cool fit for the team, as it can be many different things. If I wanted to have like a steel type, I could bring it steel. If I wanted to have a fairy type, I could bring it fairy. So I thought it was a cool like niche Pokemon, because I would have been able to bring a lot of different things, and I think it'd be hard for my opponent, they'd have to predict what I'm going to bring, and it kind of has the element, oh, if I'm really weak to a certain type, he can bring that, and I have to worry about that. So it's more for strategy, and I think it helps, like, your opponents have to really think about it, because if they're weak to typing, and I bring Savali, say they're weak to fire, I bring Savali fire, they really have to be careful. Our next mon is Mandibuzz. Mandibuzz is a very good Pokemon. It's a great defogger. It is pretty much amazing overall. It has Roost, so longevity. It's very good, especially defensive, and it has an overcoat ability, so it doesn't get chipped by the sand in our case, which is great. So it works well in our sand core, and it just brings a great flying type and a great dark type. Our next Pokemon is Slowbro. This mon I've become very fond of. It's very, I really enjoy using regenerator cores, and Slowbro I think is one of my favorite mons to use in a regen core. So regeneration allows us when we switch out to get 1/3 of our health back. So it can be really useful because you can kind of predict, and then it's also very bulky on the defensive side, so it helps us there. And to pair that with that, we have our 7th pick, Amoonguss, which also has the regenerator ability. It is a grounded poison type, so if our opponent sets toxic spikes on us, it can absorb them and we don't have to worry about it. It's also grass type, so it finishes our fire water grass core rather. And it is a regenerator mon, so I can switch between Slowbro and Amoonguss and get regenerator on both. So that's very good. It helps us with the regenerator core. Our next mon is Galvantula. I did not want to always have to rely on sand if I didn't want to. I think having the option to do webs is very scary for my opponent, because they have to, he may bring Galvantula, and if I'm dealing with webs, I need to make sure I have a defogger, so that's something they have to keep in mind, or a rapid spinner, because webs can be devastating to a team. And I have a very good like Victini. If they're slow, it can hit them super hard, so they have to be very careful. As well as a later pick you'll see definitely appreciates the webs. Cobalion, I thought having a fighting type is pretty good in Draft League, and having an alternative steel type to what I'm going to pick in a second, I thought would be good. So Cobalion is just a fairly fast, I believe it has 108 speed, and it's a steel fighting type, so it does well as an alternative steel type, and that is a mon for our steel, Dragon Steel Core, Fairy Dragon Steel. And our next mon is Mega Mawile. So this thing is absolutely broken. Absolutely broken. It is a Fairy Steel type, so it's pretty much great against any dragon, which dragon's fairly common in Draft League. And it hits like an absolute truck. It gets the Intimidate ability before it Mega Evolves, so it lowers their attack. And then when it Mega Evolves, it gets the huge power ability, which allows its attack to be doubled. So upon lowering their attack, our attack's doubled, which is insane. And if you get a Sword Stance, which it gets, the game's pretty much over. It gets access to Priority and Sucker Punch. The only real drawback is that it is fairly slow. It has base 50, but which can be a benefit with our Slowbro, because we have the ability to do Trick Room. So I think that's pretty cool. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing how much work it puts in this season. Our 11th pick is Vanillux. You may be thinking, oh, that's pretty strange having a Sand Setter and a Hail Setter. Well, I think Hail is really good, and having the option to maybe do, if I don't want to run Sand, maybe do Hail on Dracovish and set up their Aurora Veil so it takes less damage, or set up their Aurora Veil for Mega Mawile so I can get a Sword Stance up and it can live a hit or something, could be really useful. So I thought it was a good utility mon, and it hits fairly hard on the special side with Blizzard and Freeze Dry, which could be really cool. And our final mon is a kind of mascot pick or joke pick that they have. So I chose Yamask because I thought it was okay. It's not great, but I could use it as a focus sash maybe. It gets access to toxic spikes, which we wouldn't have previously. It also has Destiny Bond, which could be useful. And yeah, so I'm going to get into a little bit more detail for every Pokemon I got, so let's get into it. Alright, so this is basically just for all these sets I'm going to be using the basic Smogon set. So we have Victini, the Human Flame. All my characters Pokemon are DC villains. I thought it'd be cool to do a theme for once. So I'm doing a DC villains for this, and yeah, this V-Crate is absolutely great. It also gets access to U-Turn, which is great. Volt Strike, so it can also take water types down fairly well, and it should outspeed a majority of them with its 100 speed stat, which is really good, and in this case it's Choice Scarfed as well. So I really anticipate this mon doing a lot of work. It has some very cool moves, and Victory Star helps the accuracy of our moves, so we can run things that aren't as accurate as I normally would run, and have better luck with it. So I think this is going to be a really good mon in the future. Alright, let's get into the next one. So Hippowdon, this is basic set. It's Earthquake, Slack Off, Stealth Rocks, and Toxic. I really like this mon because it gives us a good Stealth Rock user every week. Pretty much we can bring it. And if we want to have Stealth Rocks, this can be a dedicated mon, or we have Cobalion, which also gets Stealth Rocks. We have a variety of Stealth Rock setters, but it also gives us good regeneration in Leftovers and Slack Off, and we can also have Toxic to wear down our opponents, and it sets the Sand Stream for Dracovish, which is really good. Alright, let's get into the next mon. Speaking of Dracovish, we have the monster himself, Ocean Master the Dracovish, rocking his Choice Scarf. Vicious Wren is absolutely broken, and it is boosted by Strongjaw, so on top of the Adamant Stab, it also gets a 1.5 boost, and if we outspeed the opponent, it is doubled in damage, so it's just absolutely broken. It can one-shot tons of Pokemon, and I'm really looking forward to seeing it in the sand and out of the sand this season. Alright, we have Playface, the Savali. Savali is a really interesting mon, being able to change its type depending on what plate it has held. It has a variety of good moves in Parting Shot, Fire Fang, Crunch, Facade, and some other I don't want to quite give away, but I think it could be interesting. Something my opponent definitely has to watch out for because Savali can definitely sweep if my opponent is caught off guard by the set I bring. Alright, let's get into the next one. We have Mandibuzz. Foul Play is an absolutely amazing move. So say our opponent sets up on us and has good attack. We are able to use their attack to hit it and potentially knock it out. Defog is great in Draft League. Being able to, if our opponent sets webs or something, being able to defog them away and having heavy duty boots on it so we aren't affected by it like stealth rocks or webs or whatever, and just being able to get rid of it all is absolutely amazing. And Overcoat allowing it not to take damage from Sandstorm. So if we have Sand Up, we are able to whittle their Pokemon down, but ours are not, or this Pokemon is not going to be. So that's great for Draft League, and yeah, let's get into our next mon. So Slowbro has a great move pool, teleport, so we can potentially take a hit, get into something like a Dracovish, or we could do a Trick Room teleport into a Dracovish can even do a Trick Room, but it's in some cases. But a Mega Mile Wall in Trick Room could be very threatening. So that's something to keep in mind. Trick Room teleport. Also, we have Future Sight, which hits very hard, and Slack Off for some more regeneration on top of its regenerator. And then we have our Amoonguss Poison Ivy. I think its color scheme goes well for the shiny variant, so I did that. Rocky Helmet is great on it, and the ability to spore things could be really useful. If our opponent has a threatening Pokemon, being able to put it to sleep so it can't really do anything and potentially set up ourselves with growth could be really threatening. And this thing can take hits fairly well, especially with the regenerator. And it also gets synthesis, so it gets a little bit of recovery for itself as well. Alright, our next mon is our Galvantula. Galvantula is absolutely incredible. It hits fairly hard, depending on what item you give it and nature, but its main shtick is sticky webs. It can be very good and slow our opponent down, maybe leaving entries for Dracovish to sweep or Mega Mawile, depending on the set we bring and how fast their team is. It could be very threatening itself, and it also helps our threats, so I think it's going to be a very useful member this season. Cobalion, it has the option to be another Stealth Rocker, also gets some pivoting moves in Volt Switch, which can be useful to help kind of get in our threats or our mons that want to take a hit instead of it. Rocky Helmet can be good. Justified, I think, is a fairly good ability, as if like knockoff's fairly common. So if something wants to knock us off, we get an attack boost on top of that. So from the dark move, so I think that's a good move. Of course, we don't want to get knocked off, but getting the justified boost is very good. And yeah, our Mega Mile Wall, I think the steal of the team, especially getting it as late in the draft as we did. With a lot of other Megas, I was sure this was going to go sooner, and we were able to get it. So that's really exciting. Sword Stance, giving us +2, doubling our attack again on top of Future Power, could be absolutely incredible. Sucker Punch will hit like a truck as its priority. Knockoff can do incredible damage as well, and Play Rough Fairy type stab is amazing. So I'm really excited to use this mon. I haven't before, and I think it's going to be really interesting and fun to build around. And Vanillux with Lights Clay, with its Aurora Veil, Blizzard, Freeze Dry, and Hail. I think Aurora Veil setup could be really useful, being able to help our team survive some hits. Blizzard and Hail does incredible damage, and Freeze Dry for those water types can also do great damage. We can also give it like a choice specs or something so it hits a little harder, and it can be a really good asset into the team. Alright, and a final kind of joke mon is Yamask. I just tossed a random Focus Sash on it. This, I don't think we'd bring it, but I just kind of brought some random moves. There wasn't, because it's such a low tier mon, there wasn't any set on Smogon, so I just kind of showed off some worthwhile moves to note. Knockoff is really good. Destiny Bond, we with a Focus Sash, we'll be able to live what hit, maybe hit them or Destiny Bond, and then they have to either switch out or they have to die by hitting us. So that could be useful. We could Will-O-Wisp something, crippling it. Toxic Spikes to be able to poison their team, and if they hit us physically, they lose their ability and we gain their ability and they get Mummy, which is basically useless. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please comment, rate, and subscribe. I really appreciate hearing your guys' feedback, especially I did a little bit of different editing in this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys next time. Peace out.